This is CBC Nova Scotia News.
Halifax wildfire. Firefighters and DNR tackle a forest fire near Bears Lake Business Park. Sending help. Crews travel to New Brunswick to help battle an out-of-control wildfire in that province. And Girls on Boards, how a group is encouraging girls and young women to get involved in board sports.
With today's fire in Bears Lake, winds are at least fairly light, but conditions there and across the province extremely dry. As for when we'll see some relief from the heat and the dry conditions, I'll have your full forecast just ahead.
Good evening. A wildfire has broken out in Halifax. Crews are currently battling an out-of-control forest fire in the Bears Lake area. Evacuation orders are in place, including for the Bears Lake Community Outpatient Centre. The CBC's Haley Ryan joins us live from Bears Lake with the latest on this fire. Haley, what can you tell us?
Hi, Tom. Well, actually, the latest is that we have finally seen those two water bombers from New Brunswick have arrived. They've been on scene here for the better part of an hour, and they seem to be making a difference. Actually, the plume of smoke behind me was a lot blacker and a lot larger about an hour ago, so they do seem to be making a difference. I've been seeing those water bombers drop large plumes of water and large red fire retardant plumes to help this blaze behind, Susie Lake Crescent here. They are having success at knocking this down, but there are also Halifax fires also on scene. They have about 13 fire trucks here. Dozens of Halifax fires are on scene alongside those Department of Natural Resources crews, and DNR helicopters are also on scene. Traffic has been really jammed in this area for the last couple of hours as people have been asked to leave the area and get out of this fire zone. The fire is estimated to be about 6 to 10 hectares large right now. The call actually for this fire came in around 2:30 this afternoon for a woods fire. That's when Halifax Fire responded near the 400 block of Susie Lake Crescent. So Halifax Fire has not ordered any evacuations actually, but as a precaution, Halifax police have, as you mentioned, evacuated some businesses on the fire side of Chain of Lakes Road here. And the Bears Lake Community Health Centre has also been evacuated. No homes have been evacuated at this time. The latest we heard from Halifax Fire was that no structures were at risk at this time. But as you can see, and people will understand, there's an air quality risk statement in effect right now as the air is very smoky. So the crews will be here in the woods for some time, and people are being asked to still avoid the area, understandably, as the work continues. Back to you, Tom.
Understandable for sure. Okay, Haley, thank you so much. That's the CBC's Haley Ryan reporting for us live this evening. 20 Nova Scotia firefighters left today for Moncton to help battle a large out-of-control wildfire burning near that city. Although the province remains under a fire ban and tight regulations due to the extreme burn risk, the Department of Natural Resources says the current situation allows Nova Scotia to send help. But crews can be recalled if conditions change. The CBC's Olivia Piercy reports.
Packing gear and loading it on a bus, 20 Nova Scotia firefighters prepare to head to Moncton. They're being sent to the front lines to battle this out-of-control wildfire near the city. They will be deployed for up to 2 weeks.
New Brunswick asked for help, and we're able to help, so we're doing our part.
The province is seeing dangerously dry conditions, and a province-wide fire ban is in place. Scott Tingley, the manager of forest protection with the Department of Natural Resources, says there are still about 300 firefighters in Nova Scotia. But if they're needed, the deployed firefighters will be called back home.
We don't want to do that, and we hope that doesn't have to happen. We know most Nova Scotians are helping out here and making sure we don't get starts here in Nova Scotia, but this was certainly part of the assessment.
During the 2023 Tantallon wildfires, New Brunswick sent help, including a number of planes. Now, Nova Scotia is returning the favor.
We know they'd help us out just like any agency in Canada when they could, when we need it, and we're doing our part here where they need the help right away.
Tingley says fighting wildfires has become a cross-Canada collaboration.
Right across Canada, it's been a very challenging summer, and there has been pressure on resources. So again, that's where, again, Nova Scotia, we know it's hot and dry here, but we're doing our part to step up and help the national effort when our friends need help.
Other provinces have sent firefighters to Newfoundland to fight the ongoing fires there, but Tingley says Nova Scotia hasn't received the call. Olivia Piercy, CBC News, Halifax.
Meanwhile, a wildfire burning near St. John's, Newfoundland, has prompted the province to issue new evacuation alerts. Thousands of people living in the city and on the outskirts are preparing to leave their homes and businesses. Premier John Hogan has offered words of support to them and to others affected by the wildfires in the province.
You know, us sitting up here can only imagine the stress and the situation people are in terms of being evacuated, waiting for evacuation, or being evacuated and having lost your homes. I want everybody to know that every region in this province is important, and at no stage are we prioritizing one region over the other. As I said, decisions are guided by the experts, guided by science, safety, and strategy to protect as many people, as many Newfoundlanders and Labradorians and communities as possible.
Residents in parts of St. John's, Paradise, and Conception Bay South have been told to prepare to be out of their homes for at least 3 days. This new wildfire erupted yesterday and quickly spread 2 square kilometers. 5 of the 8 fires burning in Newfoundland and Labrador are deemed to be out of control. The biggest fire in the province is near Kingston on the northwestern shore of Conception Bay. It covers more than 63 square kilometers. All right, Jay Scotland with us now from the CBC Weather Centre. Jay, at least we can be grateful that the winds aren't too high in the Halifax area today.
Yeah, that wind direction as well, generally from the south. I know a lot of the larger structures there are south of the fires, so some good news at least on that front. The wind, in terms of the smoke, there is that special air quality statement that was issued earlier. As the wind becomes light, tends to become a bit more variable, so just if you live in the area, just be mindful of that smoke and your health, as it will be a little bit more difficult to predict where that smoke will be carried by the wind, although that wind easing is a good thing because conditions, not just in the Halifax area, but across the province are dry. These areas in red show you the last 60 days, looking at well under 100 to 110 millimeters below normal or average rainfall over the last 60 days. So tinderbox conditions. Today's heat, not helpful. Dry conditions and hot weather, very bad combination. We saw those temperatures well above that seasonal average again today. Some record-breaking temperatures, 32 in Halifax before the humidex. And as we take a look ahead, there will be a bit of dampness in the air tonight. Could result in some fog or drizzle overnight into tomorrow morning. At least that wind stays fairly light, but we do have another warm one to get through for your Wednesday, Tom.
All right, Jay, talk later. Well, when it comes to trying to prevent fires, there's been criticism and controversy surrounding measures put in place by the province to keep people out of the woods. At least one man is protesting by deliberately violating the restrictions and has been slapped with a major fine. The CBC's Kyle Moore has the story.
I take it here.
It's a video that has ignited a debate. Jeff Evely went into the woods to push back against restrictions the province has in place to help prevent wildfires and was fined by conservation officers more than $28,000.
I understood what I had to do in order to confirm whether hiking is legal. I had to take the fine so that I could get this into court and have it reviewed in light of the Constitution.
The Nova Scotia government has banned hiking, camping, fishing, and use of vehicles such as ATVs in the woods due to an elevated wildfire risk. Evely says the restrictions go too far.
There is no logical connection to the goal of preventing wildfires by barring my sneakers from the woods.
We will be defending him on that ticket.
Marty Moore is a Toronto lawyer who will be representing Evely in his legal fight.
Quite frankly, I think we've been receiving a lot of frustration from people who are saying, can't the government see what is in their mind common sense, that I can't start a fire by walking through the woods or biking through the woods? That kind of frustration with government, it doesn't help the public trust in our institutions.
We're always going to have to err on the side of caution.
Ken McMullen is president of the Canadian Association of Fire Chiefs. He agrees with the restrictions that are in place.
folks, I know that this might appear inconvenient. I understand that it might seem over the top. The reality is desperate times may call for desperate measures.
Since the wildfire restrictions have been put in place, Nova Scotia's Department of Natural Resources says 6 tickets have been issued to people for violating those measures.
I do think it will stick, that he will pay the fine.
But Wayne McKay says it will be up to the province to prove their case in court.
I think it probably would survive in the same way that most of the COVID restrictions survived. And while this is not the same as COVID-19, it's another emergency with risk to the general public.
The restrictions are in place for provincial Crown land until October the 15th, or until weather conditions allow them to be lifted. Kyle Moore, CBC News, Sydney.
An RCMP Code of Conduct Board has ruled that a Nova Scotia Mountie acted inappropriately and discredited the force. In a written decision, the board says the officer pursued a sexual relationship with the complainant in an assault case where he was the lead investigator. While the decision names the RCMP officer in question, CBC News is not identifying him because there are children involved. The relationship between the Mountie and the woman dates back to 2015, and its origin was kept secret from the RCMP and the prosecution. The woman became pregnant with the first of their 3 children while the criminal case was ongoing. The Mountie admitted that he visited the safe house where the woman was staying to pursue a sexual relationship with her. The officer has been fined 40 days worth of pay and must work under close supervision for a year. New workplace harassment regulations for all Nova Scotia employers go into effect on September the 1st to prevent and respond to physical and psychological harassment. The new regulations will require all workplaces to create a written harassment policy that includes rules, details on how to report harassment, and procedures for how complaints will be investigated.
This is something new for folks when it comes to occupational health and safety. As we said previously, health and safety requirements were, focused on physical injuries, and this is new. So, our expectation is that workplaces are going to need some time to get this in place and get up and running, and our intent is to go out there and work with them and help them with new resources and tools to do this.
Under the new regulations, the province says all employers must commit to a policy of non-retaliation and to keeping harassment complaints confidential. Each workplace's policy must be reviewed every 3 years. Girls on Boards is a nonprofit group that encourages girls and young women to get into board sports that can include stand-up paddleboarding, snowboarding, and surfing, and skateboarding. Rosalind Beddoe, of the co-director of the Girls on Boards, we met with her recently at the Halifax Common Skate Park.
Girls on Board started as a way to fill a void that our founder Mia was seeing in girls and teenagers' confidence in their body, and addressing a dropout of girls and teens in organized sports and in unorganized sports due to going through puberty and having body confidence issues and fear of how you're being perceived while you're doing things with your body. We do some snowboarding in the winter, and then in the summer seasons we do skateboarding, paddleboarding, and surfing. No gear, no previous experience required. We provide all of the gear, whether it's skateboarding or paddleboarding or any activity we do. We're providing everything, so you just have to show up as you are. In 2017, we started in Wolfville in the Annapolis Valley, primarily doing stand-up paddleboarding, and we've since expanded to 4 other board sports in 11 other communities across the country and internationally. We've had such great messages and feedback from parents and guardians saying how good of a time their child had, and to be able to provide those experiences. And even if they tried it and they don't want to do it again, I'm just so happy for them to come out and have the courage to try. And if I'm happy to be there, then there must be something good and something empowering that's happening with the girls. It doesn't happen on its own, and we're just one group of many groups that's trying to address getting more girls in the park and more girls on the water and more girls in sports in general, or staying in sports for longer.
You were looking at a live shot from our harbor cam, looking out over Bears Lake there, where that fire continues to burn, now 6 to 10 hectares in size, and fire crews will be on the scene there for some time. Jay, back with your full weather forecast right after this.
This weather update is brought to you by Access Wellness Nova Scotia. Book your appointment today for free, confidential mental wellness support.
All right, your full weather forecast now. Jay Scotland with us. And Jay, all eyes on the weather forecast. So dry. Everyone worried about fires.
Yeah.
Not a lot of relief in sight, though.
No, we do have cooler temperatures, cooler than what we're seeing, not cool temperatures, as a cold front will be approaching into Thursday. That could bring some rain in some areas, certainly as we head up to our more northern parts of the province. Some locally heavier downpours will be possible. Problem is the more substantial rain that comes from the passage of this cold front Thursday night into early Friday. It's going to be convective in nature, which means some areas don't see much. Other areas, you may get a significant amount, but it tends to come in a short time, which means more runoff than actually soaking down into the soil, which benefits the vegetation. So I don't think we're going to see a meaningful amount of rain, widespread anyway, to really help alleviate the very dry conditions. That being said, we do see temperatures tick down a little bit, which will be helpful as we round out the weekend into the weekend as well. So at least some good news on that front with the approaching cold front. Until then, heat warning still in place across all of Nova Scotia. And yeah, we talk about just that fire risk, the heat really only adding to the stress. I know our growers have been struggling with dry conditions, but so has our vegetation, our trees, our brush. So just please, folks, be mindful, extra caution if you're outdoors, and if you are in the vicinity of that wildfire, just be mindful of the air quality as well. Very light wind becomes variable, doesn't carry the smoke too far, but as that wind eases, it does become a bit less predictable to determine where that smoke is going to be carried as well. Daytime highs today, this is part of the problem. It's not just the lack of rain, it's the added heat into that equation as well that we've been seeing. Very warm temperatures away from the coast today across the province. We had a number of record-breaking temperatures yesterday, and once those official numbers come in, I imagine today we will have seen a number of new daytime high records as well. Not much to show you in terms of cloud cover across the region. We do have a slight chance for a few, and we're seeing some here just starting to bubble up. Slight chance for some areas of just a brief convective shower or thunder shower early this evening. Into the Kentville area, for example, you may see that early this evening, but otherwise it is not a widespread rain event by any stretch, and we will see a little bit of dampness starting to build in for most areas, though, with clouds increasing, not just above us, but at the surface. So this will be beneficial, or at least helpful. We start to see fog, possibly some drizzle forming overnight into tomorrow morning, starting coastal areas and then spreading inland. So we could be looking at some fog and some drizzle. That means a higher relative humidity with a light wind. That does benefit it does help with that elevated fire risk. It is beneficial, at least in that regard. Once we see that fog lift, we'll start to see the breaks of sunshine becoming a bit more frequent. May pick up a few scattered or brief showers in some areas tomorrow, but it's not going to add up to too much, and this is not a widespread, soaking, steady rain. That is what we really need. Now, as we move the weather map ahead further, we can see the relief from the heat coming. There is that cold front that will be moving Wednesday night into Thursday into New Brunswick. Late in the day, you'll start to see that approaching PEI and into western parts of the province here in Nova Scotia. Ahead of that cold front, that wind will be picking up from the southwest. That does increase the fire risk briefly, but then we get some showers, followed by potentially some isolated thunderstorms, locally heavy downpours, and then cooler temperatures with a cooler northwesterly wind following the passage of that cold front. That'll lower the heat. Also, just for comfort, lower the humidity a bit as well. So the humidex values, not too intimidating as we look ahead to beyond Thursday. So through the overnight hours tonight, temperatures will stay between 16 and 20 degrees. You are seeing mainly cloudy skies starting along the coast here. That is that fog developing tonight. We could see some drizzle, which is like a light shower overnight into the morning hours tomorrow as well. And then as we look into the afternoon, a few convective showers that may come with a rumble of thunder for those warmer spots where that humidity is still quite high. Otherwise, just gradually clearing for most areas. But 27 in Halifax tomorrow, still going to feel well over 30, 32, 33 with the humidex. Now, we have that late day rain into Thursday. Could linger for eastern areas into early Friday as well. But temperatures will be dropping off into the mid-20s. Humidex values will be improving as well. And we can even see temperatures back into the low 20s through the weekend into early next week. Hopefully a bit more in terms of that rain as well. Not a lot, but a little Sunday night into Monday, Tom.
Watch for that for sure. Jay, thank you so much. And we'll be right back. The province's rejection of Halifax's new plan to guide growth in the capital city is causing some debate. The new regional plan would change a slew of bylaws and planning documents across Halifax, updating the current version brought in 11 years ago. But Municipal Affairs Minister John Lohr said he could not approve it because he felt the plan could, quote, impede housing growth. Gillian Ramsey is the Sustainable Cities Coordinator with the Ecology Action Centre. So, Ms. Ramsey, when you heard about the province's rejection of Halifax's new regional plan, what did you think?
Yeah, the rejection of the regional plan was disappointing, to say the least. A lot of work went into the regional plan for many, many years. Not only the HRM Council and HRM planning staff who put countless hours into developing it, but also community members who spent their volunteer hours reading through very dense documents and trying to help give the best possible advice and feedback on the plan so that we can live in a city that makes everybody proud and happy.
All right, so given that, what are you expecting from a reimagined plan for Halifax, one proposed by the province? What do you think we could see?
It's a good question. I think Minister Lohr's letter that he put out is definitely raising a few flags, particularly that in the letter he suggests that the provincial team would be happy to work on creating the new version of the regional plan. And we haven't seen that level of provincial input before in our regional planning documents. So we're not really sure what that could potentially look like. The messages that he does bring up as being problems in this current iteration of the regional plan that just got rejected are ones that are particularly concerning for people and community. The 30-meter setbacks, for example, for wetlands and buffers, or buffers for wetlands rather, are really important, not only for environmental purposes, but also for community and new development, which the province is very much in favor of. These setbacks are helping wetlands thrive and watercourses thrive. And we know these spaces are ecologically very significant for a multitude of reasons, including that they act as flood and fire breaks. And so those are very important features that we want to see safeguarded when new developments are popping up around the city. And then the EV charging stations as well is an interesting aspect of the regional plan for the province to feel so strongly against, particularly because this is counterproductive to their own goals and their environmental goals and Climate Change Reduction Act.
Well, I mean, the province says it's doing this for good reason. It says, you know, they will have there's a housing crisis that's happening here. Their plan will have more of an emphasis on helping to get more housing built. The province says it's going to do that. I mean, what do you make of that argument?
Yeah, I think it's interesting because the province has identified the right problem, but they're going about it the wrong way. We are very much in a housing crisis, and that is desperately in need of being addressed. And the HRM's population continues to grow every year. That being said, we all know the solution to the housing crisis isn't housing alone. We need complete communities. So housing developments need to be built with community members in mind, particularly those that are suffering the most in the housing crisis, which is middle and low income families who are in desperate need of housing. And so these housing developments need to be built mindfully with transit access to essential services like grocery stores, doctors' offices, different services that you would want to see in your community. And one of those important features of a complete community is access to green space. We know there are numerous physical and mental health benefits of living close to places that you can recreate. So we want to see housing, but we want to see housing done in an intelligent and also in an environmentally mindful way.
You alluded to this earlier. I don't remember having seen this kind of approach, certainly in Halifax, but what's your sense of how common this is becoming for provincial government to take a step like this, whether it be here in Nova Scotia or elsewhere?
I'm mostly focused on the HRM in my body of work, so I can really only speak to the HRM in Nova Scotia in particular. I will say that the overreach from the provincial government in our municipal affairs is something we have not seen historically to this extent in the HRM. There's a reason we elected our council. There's a reason we elected our mayor. And it's that we want our municipal representatives to work on the municipal issues that they're mandated to work on. And so it's important to have a municipal government because they are the first line of defense for the citizens that elected them. And so we have the best access to the people that are working in our municipality versus the province who works on different issues. So it's very important that we maintain the democratic processes that are in place to allow for community feedback on changes that are happening in our city. And the province seems really bent on trying to build a city that we don't want to live in. There's tons of public feedback that expresses interest for preserving green spaces, for building housing on brownfield sites that are within the urban service boundary. If you look at the 2023 What We Heard document, all of that information is compiled there for them in this evidence. And that was very heavily consulted in the regional plan that the HRM put out.
Okay, we'll have to leave it on that note. Jillian Ramsey of the Ecology Action Centre, thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Coming up, a record-breaking heat wave is spreading across Europe, sparking deadly wildfires in Spain and Portugal. And National Guard troops land in Washington, D.C. as some U.S. mayors warn of a presidential power grab. Welcome back. As we told you earlier, a wildfire burning near St. John's, Newfoundland has prompted new evacuation alerts. Thousands of people in the city and on the outskirts are now preparing to leave their homes and businesses. Heather Gillis has the latest from St. John's.
The wildfire crisis in Newfoundland is deepening, with 2 major fires wreaking havoc and a new one sparking. The Paddy's Pond fire, which began Monday, continues to threaten the capital. Nearly 20,000 people in St. John's and surrounding towns of Conception Bay South and Paradise are under evacuation alert. Some in Paradise were ordered out Tuesday evening.
We are also in the process of expanding the regional state of emergency to parts of St. John's, parts of Paradise, and parts of CBS.
The Paddy's Pond fire has grown to an estimated 200 to 300 hectares, but officials say it's too smoky to tell for sure. It's closed part of the Trans-Canada Highway and is causing chaos at the Canada Games, which is postponing some events, relocating others.
We put out a call last night to each provincial territorial chef team and said, can you come help us get the equipment out of Paradise? And they were all there within 20 minutes, loading up trucks.
Meanwhile, another one, the Kingston fire, continues to grow to the northwest. Even across the bay, its intensity is clear. It's forced 3,000 people to flee and has already burned some homes as it pushes further north.
And we anticipate, based on what we can see at this moment, that there is significant loss.
The Kingston and Paddy's Pond fires are about 100 kilometers apart. Water bombers are flying back and forth, drenching both. A precious resource being shared that has some concerned there aren't enough.
I'm afraid that most people in Conception Bay North on the Beattyford Peninsula will not have homes to go back to.
The Premier says the province is trying to maximize its resources and that they're not prioritizing one part of the province over another. But more high-capacity helicopters are coming, so are Black Hawk choppers from Utah with night water bombing capability. Meanwhile, a fire in central Newfoundland has closed another regional highway to the south coast, and a new fire has ignited about 30 kilometers south of the Kingston fire. Heather Gillis, CBC News, St. John's.
Much of Canada is in the grip of intense heat. That is making the battle against wildfires tougher and is triggering health warnings coast to coast. Jayla Bernstein shows us the toll the heat is taking on people and the land.
Sweltering heat mixed with drought has left much of the country scorched and tinder dry.
Got to go with the flow. Too hot, can't move too fast.
I think it's nice, but I can't stay out in it for too long.
Yeah, really, yeah.
The rising temperatures broke more than 60 records across Canada in places like Baie-Comeau, Quebec, Edmundston, New Brunswick, and Happy Valley Goose Bay in Newfoundland and Labrador. That kind of heat can pose a very real threat, doctors warn, especially for vulnerable people, like those with health conditions like heart disease.
What we see in many studies is that do not occur outside, they occur inside. And mostly it's people that are older, they have illnesses, they live inside, and they are isolated.
Heat waves like these are getting worse due to climate change.
This is like the dress rehearsal, a dry run of what we're going to see that will be normal in 2050. We're exclaiming about it now because it is so unusual, but boy, it will be the sign of the things to come.
The weather is also forcing farmers to adapt, like this Ontario vineyard that's resorted to hand watering.
Well, you've got to do what you can.
The St. Lawrence River has dropped so low, this boat launch east of Montreal is useless. The low water levels could be one factor in this Sea-Doo accident nearby. Sunday night, 2 people were injured when they crashed into the rocks. This Montreal area community organizer says people are telling him the beach is magnificent, but it's in a spot where normally there's not a beach. Some reprieve from the heat is expected by Wednesday for much of Canada, but it's all relative. Though nights will be cooler, daytime highs in Montreal and Toronto are expected to stay in the high 20s and low 30s until the end of the week. Jayla Bernstein, CBC News, Montreal.
And it's not just Canada. A blistering heat wave has sparked wildfires across much of southern Europe. Across the continent, thousands of people have been forced from their homes as they cope with temperatures above 40 degrees Celsius. Chris Brown reports.
The heat in Europe is historic, with sustained temperatures above 40 degrees Celsius, fanning fires from one side of the continent to the other. Spain may have it the worst, with fire crews overwhelmed and residents terrified. We're helpless and feel completely abandoned. Someone do something for us, pleaded Evangelina Paral. Enormous fires burned less than 30 kilometers from the capital, Madrid, in the municipality of Tres Cantos, where a man was killed. And in the far south, more than 2,000 people in the beach town of Tarifa were evacuated, as the helicopters scooping and dumping seawater couldn't keep up with the fire's spread. Many complained of road chaos as they tried to flee. To the east, the Balkans also burned as people in Montenegro returned to incinerated homes. Dragana Vukovic said money can help replace the things she lost, but memories and keepsakes that burned can never be replaced. Fires raged in nearby Albania too, one of many countries where tourists found their holiday plans upended.
We came here for vacation, just a holiday, and I was really shocked to see the fire.
A warming climate is, of course, a major factor for such extreme conditions and destruction, but not the only one.
The area of flammable vegetation, that is forest, that is shrubland, is increasing, especially in the Mediterranean area. And this is largely to do with the rural depopulation.
But resort towns, including in Turkey, have also found themselves in the line of fire, prompting evacuations by sea. Worryingly, the heat and winds may be sustained for days to come. Chris Brown, CBC News, London.
Members of the U.S. National Guard have arrived in Washington, D.C., and the White House is responding to criticism over the president's move to deploy them there. On Monday, Donald Trump declared a public safety emergency in the nation's capital, claiming it had become a lawless city. Lisa Xing reports from Washington.
Trump allies are doubling down on their support for the U.S. president's move to federalize the D.C. police. The White House says about 850 officers were patrolling. They made a total of 23 arrests, including for homicide, firearms offenses, lewd acts, stalking, reckless driving, and more. We heard from D.C.'s top prosecutor, who brought out photos of young people who had been killed.
What this makes clear to me is that there is a whole community that is suffering because of the violent crime in this district.
While crime is high, especially in certain areas, stats show the efforts to bring those numbers down have helped. Violent crime hit a 30-year low in 2024, so critics, namely Democrats like D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser, expressed some concern over Trump asserting federal control. But today, after a meeting with Pam Bondi, the Attorney General who local police will now report to, Bowser took on a bit more of a deferential tone.
How we got here or what we think about the circumstances right now, we have more police and we want to make sure we're using them.
While local officials may think this is an overreach, there's not much they can do because D.C. doesn't have a state government. There's no governor, and that means Congress and the president have a lot more authority here than in other states. However, that did not stop Trump from leaving the door open for a similar situation in cities like L.A., New York, and Chicago. Here's what the mayor of Chicago said about that possibility today.
Though we take these threats seriously, we will not bow down or succumb to his tyrant rage.
So there's not only anger over Trump using his authority over issues that presidents typically don't wade into, local issues namely, there are logistical challenges too, especially with the FBI and National Guard not having the same authority as D.C. police do to make arrests, nor do they have the same kind of training for this kind of work. Lisa Xing, CBC News, Washington.
A union representing 10,000 Air Canada flight attendants has just provided notice that they intend to strike. The Canadian Union of Public Employees says it has declined a proposal by the airline to resolve negotiations through arbitration. If they agreed to a mediator, the possibility of a strike would have been suspended. Now, flight attendants can walk off the job as early as Saturday. The union is calling for higher wages for flight attendants who say they perform hours of unpaid mandatory duties. China has announced a preliminary duty on Canadian canola imports. The provisional rate of 75.8% will come into effect on Thursday. It is the latest escalation in a trade dispute that began last August. Beijing launched an anti-dumping probe against Canadian canola after Ottawa put tariffs on Chinese electric vehicle imports. China is the world's largest importer of canola, with nearly all of its supplies coming from Canada. In 2023, canola exports to the country totaled $5 billion. China mainly uses imported canola to make animal feed for aquatic farming. The ongoing trade war with the U.S. is affecting some salty snacks. The dispute is changing not only how Canadians shop, but also what stores are putting on their shelves. Julia Wong explains why some pickles are the latest product impacted.
For Crystal Porcher, pickles are kind of a big deal. The Edmonton woman snacks on them at least twice a week.
I mean, always with a grilled cheese. Always. You have a pickle. It's classic.
But in many grocery stores across Canada, a jarring sight. The iconic Bix pickles are not available anymore due to unfortunate tariff impacts.
We've got a border dispute that just makes that transfer back and forth across the border expensive.
Every year, Treehouse Foods buys its lids and 11 million pounds of cucumbers from Ontario. But assembly happens in the U.S. Now, when they come back into Canada, Ottawa slaps the pickles with a 25% retaliatory tariff.
That has, in some cases, really inhibited the retailer's availability to justify carrying them.
Bix is only sold in Canada, so the company isn't relishing the dragged-out trade war. Sales are down about 25% in the last 3 months, putting the company in, well, a bit of a pickle.
And that's less cucumbers and less caps, things we'll buy in Ontario.
Amid the ongoing trade war, patriotism has swelled, but that could backfire in some cases, experts say.
That Buy Canadian is sort of coming back to bite, pardon the pun, the Canadian farmers.
Another complication of intertwined economies.
There are other products that have somewhat complicated supply chains, and I suppose pickled vegetables are an example of that.
Back in Edmonton, Porcher says she'll make do with what she has, but pickles being caught up in the trade war leaves a sour taste in her mouth.
Personally, it's not great. Obviously, I'm gonna be paying more for something that I love to eat. If I can't find them, I'll have to suss out some other options.
The company behind Bix says it's reaching out to U.S. lawmakers to lobby the Canadian government to remove the counter tariff. But with no guarantees in this trade war, businesses and consumers are left to deal with the consequences. Julia Wong, CBC News, Edmonton.
Canada's main stock index gained more than 140 points to finish trading on strength in the real estate and financial sectors today, while U.S. stock markets reached new highs. Here's a look at where things closed as we head to commercial break.
Hi, I'm Steve Sutherland in Sydney. If you want to know what's happening in Cape Breton Island or what's important to the people who live here, join me for Information Morning Cape Breton. News, views, interviews, live reports, reporters on the scene on matters of politics, art, community, current affairs. If it's being talked about in Cape Breton, we're talking about it on Information Morning. Every weekday morning from 6 to 8:37 on CBC Radio 1.
This weather update is brought to you by Access Wellness Nova Scotia. Book your appointment today for free, confidential mental wellness support.
Jay Scotland back one last time tonight to give us the latest look at the weather forecast. And Jay, looking down that line, hoping showers in the forecast, but nothing right away, certainly.
Yeah, I mean, really, we talk about the fire in Bears Lake, but we are looking at these dry conditions, very high to extreme fire risk across the province, folks. Just please exercise caution if you're doing anything outdoors. That doesn't just mean outdoor activities. Just make sure you don't have anything dragging on your car. Muffler dragging right now, cigarette butt out the window. It doesn't take much when we have these dry conditions, the heat adding to that problem. It's not just the lack of rainfall. We know we're well below normal rainfall. Some areas over 100 millimeters below normal over the last couple of months. But that heat also adding stress to vegetation. So please exercise caution. Heat warning still in place. Exercise caution with your own personal health as well, as we will still be looking at humidex values into the 30s for areas that see temperatures into the high 20s tomorrow. That includes Halifax. But as you head up towards Truro, for example, up towards Kentville, maybe a convective shower in the afternoon, an isolated thunderstorm. But aside from that, temperatures over 30, humidex values feeling closer to 40. So still another warm one tomorrow. Could start out with some higher relative humidity, though, in the morning. This is beneficial with a light wind to help with that fire risk. Not enough, but it helps a little to have some fog, some mist, some drizzle in the morning. We may see that lift to maybe a mainly cloudy sky into the early afternoon before clearing, and that temperature up into the high 20s, so it's still warmer than normal, likely 32, 33 with the humidex. Still going to be a little on the muggy side, but that's better than what we've seen for the last 2 days. That cold front arriving late Thursday through early Friday, though, that's going to make the real difference in terms of dropping the temperatures. Unfortunately, won't be dropping enough rain onto Nova Scotia to really make a meaningful dent in that fire risk. But I think at this point, any rain would be welcome.
Any little bit would help for sure. Okay, Jay, thank you so much. Well, for people taking the train across Prince Edward Island more than a century ago, Elmira was the end of the line. Now the service is long gone, but the station at the northeastern tip of the island carries on as a museum. This week, it's celebrating a major milestone and inviting the public to drop by. Have a look.
I'm Matthew McRae. I'm the Executive Director of the Prince Edward Island Museum and Heritage Foundation, and we are currently standing in front of Elmira Railway Museum. This year, the railway is 150 years old, and it operated for 114 years, from 1875 to 1989. And here at Elmira, it's a really fascinating story because this was the end of the line. This was the final station on the Prince Edward Island Railway here in Eastern PEI. And so in that role, I think Elmira is a really great site. Well, today's special because we're really marking 50 years of both the Elmira Railway Museum and 150 years of the railway being a thing on PEI. And so we've got rides on the train you see behind me. We've got our kind of, oh brother, where art thou, pump cart, and then we also have our speeder train, which would have been used to go up and down the tracks to get work done when necessary, and still can do that. We've also got cake. Holman's Ice Cream is out here helping us out, and we've even got a historical reenactor here who's taking her first train ride today into Surrey, so she's very excited to tell everyone about it.
This is my very first time taking the train. You see, my father was a shipbuilder, and he did not approve of the locomotives. He thought that it would put the shipbuilding industry out of business. But he has passed several years ago now, and I must get to Charlottetown for the exhibition, and my husband can't take me because we're having the harvest this week, so I have to take the train for the first time. But tell me, do you have any advice as to where on the train I should sit?
You don't want to be shoveling the coal. That's all. Or you don't want to be on the outside.
Well, I have paid for a ticket, so I don't think they're going to put me to work.
people love railways. People love transportation. Kids love taking the train. I think we've all had that fun experience. And so it's really neat. And even though we, as someone said here today, we haven't heard a train whistle on PEI in a long time, I think the legacy of the rails is still here behind me.
That's it for us tonight. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.